To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's
puertas.
a wild ride in the woods.
When invisibility doors change.
So today on Miles from Main Street, I have a solo show. It's just Kylo today, and I'm going to just kind of ramble on for you guys. But I have a little bit to talk about, but before we get to that, I want to make sure to mention to subscribe to all of our socials. We have a website if you want to leave us voicemail. Which I think a couple of listeners have mentioned that they really would like to do that. You can actually do that right there on our website. So if you guys want to leave us voicemails, DM us anywhere on our socials. We've got Facebook, Instagram. We don't have Twitter or anything, but we definitely monitor those two social media avenues pretty heavily. So if you want to get in touch with us, go ahead and go through those. But today, I'm going to talk about some of the social media that I have been partaking in, and kind of social media that has drawn me more and more to Disney and like Disney culture and stuff like that. So I want to begin with one of the shows, or I mean, it's really kind of like a YouTube show, but it started as a podcast. But it's called The Diz Unplugged, and you may have heard of some happenings on with The Diz, and I'm not going to mention any of that, but if you want to go down that rabbit hole, feel free, or if you've heard of things that are going on already, I'm not going to mention it, but I will mention them as to say The Diz Unplugged was one of the first real kind of like Disney social media that I came upon and kind of like watched and was a fan of like right away. Basically what it is it's kind of like a roundtable like podcast discussion on, I found them when they were on YouTube. And so it's basically just like a bunch of people with microphones talking about Disney. And they go through like Disney news and happenings on that's going on with Disney and changes and things like that. And then they'll also do things like dining reviews and like new ride reviews, and they'll go to parties and review those things, and hotel reviews. They do a lot of those. And so that was kind of what really kind of got me going with Disney social media, was the Diz Unplugged. They've been around for a very long time. And then after that, with kind of my journey, was people like Tim Tracker. I found Tim Tracker pretty early on in my Disney fandom, and that was kind of the first time. Honestly, Tim Tracker was the first time that I started to watch a vlogger, like an actual like vlogger, and it was cool because they were doing it. They had a cool reason for doing it, was because they wanted their family to kind of see what Tim and Jen, those are the two people that are on the Tim Tracker, what their life was looking like. And so they would just vlog like their days, and they would go to theme parks pretty often because they liked theme parks. And then it turned into kind of like people wanted to see the theme park coverage. And then people started watching because of the theme parks, and then they kind of turned it into that. And now they're pretty heavily, I mean, it's pretty much like you can like see most of what they're living. It's actually, it's pretty cool, but it's like a full on vlog. And they've kind of become really popular in the Disney space. But yeah, I've been watching them for a very long time. And I've always enjoyed kind of the style that they have. It's very kind of, when I was first watching, and it was just kind of like Tim walking around the parks, it just kind of felt like I was walking around the parks with a friend. And I think I said that in multiple comments on videos. And that's kind of what pulled me into that type of like vlogging, which was just kind of like being at the parks, but like being at the parks with a friend. And then through Tim, I started to watch people like Adam the Woo, who wasn't specifically Disney, but Disney was a large part of what he did, and he was kind of on the like breaking and entering kind of like side of Disney vlogging. That became very popular at one point. I think it still is a little popular with certain areas in Disney, but at this point now that they know that people are looking to break into backstage areas, I think they've kind of made sure that people aren't able to do that anymore. But yeah, Adam, I would watch Adam, and he also had a little bit, it was more than just Disney, but I think Disney's what really got him to become popular. And he actually got in trouble at one point through Disney, and I think he got banned from Disney World, and he ended up moving to California to do Disneyland content. And then eventually, I think it was only like 3 years later that, because they gave Adam the Woo a lifetime ban at Disney World. But I think it was only like 3 years later, or maybe more, I don't know. But they ended up seeing what the things that he was doing at Disneyland, and seeing that he wasn't trying to obviously break into areas anymore, and they lifted his ban. So now he's able to go to both. And I think he lives in Celebration now, which is right next to Orlando, or right next to Disney. But he does a lot more than just Disney content. And then actually through Adam the Woo, I started to watch Justin Scard, which he's a specifically not specifically Disneyland vlogger, but he lives in California, goes to Disneyland a lot, and he does a lot of Disneyland vlogging and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what got me into Disneyland a little bit more. And the three of them, Tim, Adam, and Justin, I've seen like hang out before. So I'm pretty sure they're all just kind of like vlogger friends, and they know each other and everything. So that's kind of how, those are like really like my early days of Disney content. It was a lot of the Diz. That's where I got a lot of my news and stuff, and a lot of Tim and Adam and Justin watching their content. But then after a while, I started to branch out to more stuff. And I started to watch, I think this was more because of Justin, because Justin Scard would give you like history tips. Like at one point, that's like what his videos were, is he would go to Disneyland and just kind of like point out all this history. And so I started to watch a lot more history videos, and there's actually a good amount of people out there doing like Disney history content. There's only a few that are specific. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think anybody's specifically Disney, but there's a lot out there that are like a lot of Disney history content, and then a lot of other content. But like, I think Bright Sun Films was one of the first ones, and they were one that wasn't specifically Disney, but a lot of their stuff was Disney, and they do these videos that are called Abandoned, and they would talk about kind of abandoned areas, and a lot of them actually started to become Disney abandoned areas. And I think one of the first ones that I watched was his River Country video that he did about kind of like abandoned river country. This is how long ago that was. And I'm pretty sure Adam the Woo had a video about river country, and pretty sure that's just doing the typical Disney or the typical YouTube, what brings you to what. That's kind of probably how I fell upon that. But he was doing a lot of videos about river country, but then he would do videos on other abandoned things, kind of like some interventions areas at Epcot, the room that's now a DVC lounge in Epcot. He would talk about that stuff. So yeah, just kind of like he talked more kind of like the abandoned history of these places, and then through Bright Sun Films, I found people like Defunct Land, which is kind of like the same vein, where it's like they wouldn't talk about abandoned places; they would talk about old rides, or like rides that don't exist anymore, or things like that, or just kind of like concepts or areas of Disney that don't exist anymore. They have very well put together videos, but just chock full of Disney history and things to learn about Disney. And then there's also people like Poseidon Entertainment. They do a lot of they're another one that does kind of like all around like theme park videos. They talk about a lot of things more than just Disney, along with Defunctland. WDW News Today puts out some really good content. They're kind of like an all-encompassing Disney channel, but I don't like to listen to a lot of what they have to say about Disney because it's also very negative. Along with Poseidon Entertainment can kind of get a little negative about Disney, but WDW News Today put out something that I like to watch every so often, was like the history of Disney World, and it's literally like a 6-hour video of like what happened like every year of Disney. I think they put that out because of the 50th. There's also Yesterworld, which again, that same vein of kind of like older Disney rides and stuff like that. But they've done a couple really cool videos about things like lightning lanes. I think Defunctland did a really good lightning lane video at one point, just kind of explaining everything about how like Fast Pass to Lightning Lane, how everything worked, kind of the history of all of that. So that's a really good video. I would definitely recommend that video. And then also CM Films has a couple of really good Disney history videos out there on YouTube. And yeah, I think that's about it for kind of like the history of everything. It was definitely something that I really got into, and just kind of like my personal journey brought me to people like Bright Sun Films now do videos about companies that go under and stuff like that. So it's kind of like brought me to like that kind of content too. I think they call that one, oh God, what's the word? Bankrupt or something like that. But yeah, those videos are a lot of fun. But these are, I think what I like to watch the most is kind of like the vlog style. And what I've been into lately have been kind of like vlogging, and something that I've recently got into is live vlogging. People who are currently live in the parks. I know, so Tim Tracker, I don't think Tim Tracker ever really goes live, but he's kind of like that main like vlogger that that people watch. There's also this gentleman called Paging Mr. Morrow. He is very good. I love his videos because it's almost it's that same way where you kind of feel like you're hanging out in the park with a friend, and he makes it very educational. Because he'll take you to places and kind of like, I mean, he's kind of like me, where he's just like perpetually positive. So pretty much no matter where he goes, he's always like, oh, this is so good. Like, you guys got to try this. I mean, he's not always positive about everything, but he seems to be just like an extremely upbeat, positive person. So kind of like whatever he does, that has Disney in it, he's always very, very happy and positive. And I love to see that, because that's how I am in the parks, is just kind of like so happy to be there. Like, everything is so magical. Everything for the most part always tastes pretty good. And so, yeah, he's always really fun to watch, and he always kind of like, it's like he's taking you with on his adventures, and he kind of gives you like a review of what he's doing. He's got a bunch of friends that will tag along every so often. I don't know their names, but every so often I'll see because they all have kind of like their own little vlog going on too. So I'll check out their vlogs here and there. If I see that like they went and did something with Paging Mr. Morrow. But yeah, he's pretty great. Something funny about his vlogs is most of the time he ends his vlogs coming home to his dog, And so we have to know when that is coming, because our dog, who's a giant Great Dane named Moo, she will bark and jump up and jump up to the TV because she sees another dog. So we typically have to either like kind of like brace her for it, or just know that it's coming and end the video. But that is something that we like to see, because he includes his dog. He'll bring things home to his dog. I think he even bought his dog the Haunted Mansion buggy. His dog is a Dalmatian, and I guess it fits in one of those little buggy dog den things that Disney has, but Moo definitely would not, like, not even close. Like, she could probably collapse it. Like, she would just sit on it. But yeah, Paging Mr. Morrow is a really good one. Another really good channel, and it's kind of the vlog style, but again, it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. Is Resort TV 1, and I had started watching Resort TV 1 way back in the day, probably around when I found the Diz Unplugged. And that's because their name is Resort TV 1 is because they started by image capturing all of the commercials and everything, and like the must do Disney channels at the hotels, and then uploading that video to YouTube. And so I used to watch the must do videos all the time, because it made me feel like I was at the hotel. In the hotels, we would turn on that channel and just leave it on. Like, I would fall asleep to that channel. We still do that at the hotels. It's kind of like a must do. It's not called Disney must do's anymore, but it's still kind of like that information channel. And so sometimes we'll fall asleep to the information channel of like showing you all the things to do in Disney, and sometimes we'll fall asleep to like the actual information channel, which is just kind of like a scrolling timeline of times of like when things open, and it's just got Disney music in the background, and we'll just fall asleep to that. But I found them very early on, and would watch their watch their videos. They didn't really have content back in the day. It was basically just them putting up like resort videos, which I still thought was cool. And then now fast forward, I kind of like didn't really watch them kind of like for a while, just because they really weren't coming out with anything new. And now they are kind of like doing everything, where like they're live streaming, they're vlogging. I think they have like a realtor service now, or like where like they can sell you a house and everything. So like they are a huge channel now, and they're a channel that we will watch every so often. And I find it fun to watch them because again, it's kind of like walking around the parks with a friend. Only they have gotten extremely popular. Like thousands of people will watch their videos. But yeah, they still have really good content. And they're great to watch, and they're live, and they're putting out content constantly. So that's always great. So I'll talk about the next kind of type of channel. And that is kind of like your typical, it's kind of like Disney content. It's not so much vlogs, or, well, it is information, but it's kind of like it's hard to explain, because they'll like do challenges, and they will show you, like, give you reviews on stuff. And I guess it's more of like a YouTube channel than a lot of the other ones, where they're kind of pumping out your typical kind of like, here's the fun content on YouTube, but it's all Disney themed, and there was a little bit of a back and forth with a bunch of these. But the first one I'm going to talk about is DFB, that's Disney Food Blog, and they started as just kind of like a blog about Disney food, obviously, and it exploded to be doing all of these videos on it. And so they would go through and be like, oh, top 10 restaurants at Magic Kingdom, and like top 10 restaurants at Epcot and stuff like that. And they give a lot of information for Disney. Very, very, very much informational. Almost all of their videos are informational. A lot of top 10 type things, or like counting down like the best resorts at Disney and stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, I love that stuff. I love to hear kind of like what people think about stuff. I love to hear reviews. I love to hear about they will go over like all of the new Disney snacks. Like as soon as there's new snacks in the parks, like they'll have a video on it, or like they'll have pictures of it, and stuff like that. Even all the way down to like popcorn buckets. Like if popcorn buckets are out, DFB is there. And so they've been a really good one of just kind of like that, like, here's your Disney content, like, here's what it is. It's not really vlog style. It's just kind of like giving you info, which I love, because I love to like hear about news. I love to hear about what people like in the parks, what people dislike in the parks, what to look out for, and stuff like that. So I really enjoy that. And then there is its counterpart. And I think if I have this correctly, somebody may be screaming at me in their car or wherever they're listening to this podcast that it's the other way around. But I believe that DFB bought All Ears. All Ears is another Disney channel on YouTube that does. DFB was kind of like a voiceover type thing, where like they would talk about all of these things, and it would just be a voice, like a talking head, and kind of going down the line of the things that they have. And All Ears was more of like a, let's go to the parks and show people this, or like, let's go to the parks and try to do this with Genie Plus or something like that. And so that's kind of like the side of DFB, that they're actually sending people into the parks and like doing challenges and stuff like that. Which has kind of become like the new thing with Disney, is to like go into Disney and like try to do a challenge. All Ears, they're doing challenges constantly. Like they'll have like 24-hour challenges, or they'll have challenges where you have to get through every single ride, but you can't use Lightning Lane or something like that. But it's a lot of fun content, and I end up watching these a lot more than I thought I was going to, because a lot of them, I do look for the informational, but a lot of these are just very entertaining. So I'll watch them. But yeah, DFB, from what I understand, bought All Ears so that they're all one thing. Now, Molly from All Ears used to be in All Ears, and she was kind of like the main attraction with All Ears. She was the vlogger, the person that people liked the most with All Ears. And she ended up leaving All Ears and making her own channel, which is called Mammoth Club. I can't remember. Mammoth is supposed to be like an acronym for like all of the names. There's three people. There's Molly. I can't remember any of these people's names. But there's, I think, Alan. There's Molly and Alan. Those two, I believe, are married. And then there's one more guy that I can't think of right now. But the Mammoth is supposed to be kind of like all of their names put together. But they kind of do the same stuff as All Ears. Not so much DFB, but they kind of do the same stuff as All Ears. Not a lot of like challenges per se. Like they will do that, but they don't really call them challenges. Like I think the video that I watched just today was Lightning Lane has changed, and Molly went into the parks to kind of see if she could do every single ride or like every single Lightning Lane attraction the same way that she had been before. I didn't really see much change in it. I'm not sure exactly what changed, but yeah, apparently it changed. I did not pay attention all that much to the video, but it's videos like that they will do. And then I watch Molly and Alan do Epcot a lot. Like they will constantly be doing the festivals. They'll go to the festivals. They'll check everything out. They'll try all of the food there. They'll do a best of the fest where they will kind of like give a bunch of different courses or dishes, like a best of the fest award. So yeah, it's just stuff like that I do really enjoy. Molly's really cool. I actually, when I was gonna propose to Kristen, I DM'd Molly and I was like, "Hey, we're big fans. Would you consider kind of like coming out to like where I'm gonna do this, or like would you let me know where you're gonna be on this date so that possibly we could run into you and say hi?" And she was really nice. Basically, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. She doesn't want to like put out what her schedule is going to be. Plus, she doesn't want to, like, she doesn't know, like she wouldn't know that far in advance. But she actually responded to me, which is better than a lot of these other vloggers and Disney people that I try to DM to get a response from them. But yeah, she actually said congratulations and hey, and explained everything. And so that's real cool. So I wanted to mention that because she seemed really nice when I was trying to see if we could just randomly run into her when I proposed at Disney. But yeah, Mammoth Club is another pretty decent one. Again, it's very similar to All Ears. In the type of content that they put out. I think it's really just kind of Molly is that like main face for the Mammoth Club, where she used to be the main face for All Ears. So some other smaller vloggers that I'll watch. One of them is Kyle Paulo. Apparently he's from Wisconsin, and anytime I try to say, "Hey, I'm from Wisconsin too," he ignores me. So I don't actually watch him all that much, and it's mainly because he seems like more of one of those vloggers that like has Disney content, but he's really just kind of vlogging his life. But he doesn't have enough Disney content, or like he's just not as charismatic enough for me, probably because he's younger, that like I care about what he's doing in his life just yet. Like the trackers have that, like I'm already invested in the trackers because I've watched them for so long. I've been watching the trackers for so long that I remember when they came out with the video talking about how Jen Tracker couldn't have children. And it was like really emotional, and they were walking around like the Everglades or something. I don't know where they were. That was a while ago because now they have like 2 kids. So, I mean, I've been invested in the trackers for a while, and it wasn't always like just home stuff. I remember there was one time, and actually I've done this with my wife now, and everything went fine. But there was one really early video of Tim and Jen that they were like buying a couch, and like halfway through the video, Tim was like, "If you ever want to test your relationship, buy a couch with whoever you're with." And like dumb things like that like I am now invested into what they're doing, and I care, and I don't think that's there with this Kyle guy yet, or if it ever will be, because he's very young and he kind of has that young vibe. So it's cool to kind of see some of these videos of what he's doing, but like I don't know. We'll see where Kyle goes. There's also LBV TV. They go live on YouTube a lot, but they also do other videos. And I think Kristen likes her videos a lot better because I think she has like some sort of, I want to say it's like an Etsy shop or something that she runs. So she sells something, which is pretty cool. And Kristen likes that stuff. So now I kind of want to talk about one of the people that I've been watching the most, and that is Ron on the Go. And Ron is a live streamer, and so he is in the parks streaming live almost every single day. And he's kind of taken his YouTube channel, and he's got like a bunch of affiliates now. I don't even know if they're like official affiliates. I think it's just people that he like sees a lot. And then because what he'll do is he can set it up so that his live stream automatically switches to the other person who's live. So it's people like the Park Hoppers. They're really fun to watch. They're kind of that same style of Ron, where they're live at certain times and they're in the parks and they're just kind of showing you what they're doing. Crazy Disney Lady is another one. I've watched her streams before, just randomly, just because sometimes I'll just type in Walt Disney live and just like see who's live. And so I've watched her streams before there, but now I'm seeing her a lot more with Ron. And then there's also Coda Bear, who is a Disneyland live streamer with Ron. And so I've been watching. Sometimes I'll watch Ron, and then Ron will transition to Coda Bear. And since California is in a different time zone, like sometimes I'll stay up until like midnight to like watch fireworks at Disneyland. But yeah, all of these live streamers are a lot of fun to watch, and they have a live chat, and so you can chat with them, and sometimes like maybe they'll see your chat and they'll mention you and stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun too, and it just kind of feels like you're there. It feels like you're actually seeing what's going on. Like you feel more connected to Disney that way because you're actually seeing it live. And sometimes, like some days, like some weekends that Kristen and I have off, which is like not very often, but sometimes we'll just have like Ron or some other live streamer just like on in the background. Like they'll be doing stuff and we'll be like doing chores around the house or something like that, and just tune in every so often if there's like a parade or they're on a ride that we like. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There are certain live streamers out there that will, and I think honestly, I think they've kind of gotten away from this. This may have been like a couple years ago, where live streamers would just kind of sit there and read comments and just say like where people are from. Like for some reason, people were constantly saying like, "Oh, I'm from Washington. Oh, I'm from California," and they'd be like, "Hello, Jimmy from California. Hello, Kyle from Oklahoma," and like that's like what they would do. They would just stand in line and do this. But Ron is a lot of fun because he will always kind of find something to talk about and something going on. He does kind of seem a little obsessed with how many subscribers he's getting, but I think that kind of, I mean, like, it's endearing because I want to see him get a bunch of subscribers. And so it's fun to kind of like see that count and stuff like that. Plus it just helps just saying like, oh, this is how many subscribers I have. You should subscribe so that I get more subscribers. And I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But he does seem a little obsessed with getting subscribers. I don't think anybody else really, other than like Coda Bear, I've seen him do it before, but I think he's just trying to emulate Ron, is to like where he'll actually pull up how many subscribers he has like on his phone and he'll show everybody. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why they do that. But I think live streamers are kind of like my new obsession with Disney content. Just watching people who are live in the parks. Other random live streamers that I've watched is Myers and the Mouse. I think that's their name. I actually met them once when I was at a conference in Orlando, and I was just randomly at Epcot, and I saw them. I think I just typed in live at Disney, and the first one that popped up was in the same restaurant that I was at. Or no, I walked past them and I saw the gimbal and I was like, oh, they're probably live. And so I typed it in and I saw which one they were. And so I went and talked to them and they were like, oh, cool. And they gave me a pin and they seemed very cool. And they're another one that's like kind of just like Ron, where like they're always doing something. They've always got something going on. I don't know how frequent that they go live, but that is a lot of fun. And the last one that I'll talk about, and I can't even remember the name, but it's just kind of, I've seen a couple that kind of do this. And I'm not saying look out for this because it's a scam, but it's definitely kind of like weird. And that is, I was watching this live stream one time and they were on like Pirates of the Caribbean, and I was like, oh, cool, pirates. Like, I love this ride. I'll sit and watch this ride live. And so they rode pirates, and they got into the gift shop of pirates, and they started like looking at merchandise, which like live streamers do. Like live streamers will do that constantly. They'll just kind of like start looking at merchandise and like be showing you merchandise to like show you like what's in there at the time. Like nothing out of the ordinary. All of a sudden, people were like, oh, get me this. Oh, grab this. And like, I didn't know what they were. And so I commented and I was like, are you guys all just like friends and like you're like grabbing merchandise for friends? And then somebody explained it to me and they were like, oh, this is how do they say it? This is a concierge service. And we will buy things in the park for you and ship it to you. Basically, it's like a personal shopper. But they were doing it like live right there. There was like a link that you could hit to like pay and like say what you wanted and everything. And it was very interesting. I can't remember what they were called because I don't watch them very often because it turns into that. I've seen them in the parks before, actually, but like it turns into like they go from thing to thing and people will be like, I like that, get me that. I like that, get me that. And it turns into like just looking at merchandise. And like looking at merchandise for specific people, which can be fun. Like I've definitely watched a couple times. But I definitely thought that was weird that all of a sudden I was like, why are these people telling this person to buy them stuff? And definitely a personal shopper. But there's a couple of channels out there that are kind of like that I've come across, but that was the one that like really took me by surprise when I was watching it and all of a sudden people started buying stuff. Very interesting. But I mean, all in all, I've rambled for a while here, but all in all, I love Disney content. I love, like, honestly, I'm just constantly watching this stuff on YouTube. There is a live stream happening right now in my living room as I record this. And so, yeah, it's there's something out there for everyone, whether or not you want a vlog where people kind of like show you different things, or you want a live stream where you want to like be there while the people are there with them. Or if you want information, if you want history, there's all that kind of stuff out there for you guys. So yeah, definitely look for that stuff. Just peruse YouTube. I love YouTube. I'm constantly on YouTube. It's terrible. But yeah, there's something out there for everyone. But yeah, that's about all I have for you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble about Disney content and other Disney influencers and stuff like that. But yeah, like we always say, some live close,
but others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.